The Buffalo Bills traded for cornerback Rasul Douglas and signed running back Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. We're breaking it all down today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, folks, the Bills did something. I know some of you guys were sweating it out, hoping for the Bills to make a move prior to the 4 p.m. Eastern time trade deadline on Tuesday, Halloween. And about 20, 30 minutes before it came to an expiration, the Bills made a trade. They acquired cornerback Rasul Douglas. So we're going to talk all about Rasul Douglas, who he is, what he brings, the need the Bills had, the contract, everything you need to know. And then we're also going to have some analysis on Leonard Fournette, the Bills' new running back who was added to the practice squad. So let's start with Rasul Douglas. 28 years old. He turns 29 next August. 6'2", 210 pounds, 32 and 3/8 inch arms, so plenty of length. He's a good-sized corner, 6'2", 210. This isn't a small corner. A lot of length there. Now, he's not an overly dynamic athlete. His RAS score is a 7.31, which is an average to below average athletic profile. We'll talk about that. He started his college career at Nassau Community College, was there for a couple of seasons before transferring to West Virginia, where he played his last two college seasons. And as a senior in 2016, he really kind of took off. He was a first-team all-conference player, and he actually led the entire nation in interceptions with 8. He wound up being a third-round pick in 2017 by the Philadelphia Eagles out of West Virginia, and he honestly had a bit of a slow start to his career. He lasted in Philly for 2.5, 3 seasons, and then he bounced around for a little bit before latching on with the Green Bay Packers. So from 2017 through 2021, he spent time with the Eagles, the Panthers, and actually started quite a few games for the Panthers. He started games for the Eagles as well. The Raiders, Texans, Cardinals, before landing with the Packers midway through 2021, where his career really took off. And in March of 2022, Rasul Douglas actually signed a 3-year, $21 million extension with the Packers. We're going to talk about that contract that the Bills are absorbing here in just a moment, but I'm trying to just tell you the story of kind of his career to this point. And so now the Bills have sent a 3rd-round pick and got Rasul Douglas and a 5th-round pick back from the Packers. And so kind of interesting that the Bills get that 5th-round pick back. And so they still own 10 picks in the upcoming 2024 NFL draft. And they had an extra 3rd-round pick. Remember, they're expected to get a compensatory 3rd-round pick for the loss of Tremaine Edmunds in free agency. And so the Bills still maintain a lot of draft capital and have, a 1st-round pick, 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick that's going to be a compensatory pick, and got that extra 5th-round pick in addition to a bunch of additional day 3 draft selection. So the Bills are still pretty healthy when it comes to draft capital going into the 2024 draft as we talk about it today. And so Rasul Douglas comes to the Bills with a lot of experience. He's appeared in 96 games with 57 starts, and he's also been very productive intercepting the football. He has 10 interceptions since the start of 2021. Which is the 3rd most in the league over that span, keeping in mind he didn't sign with the Packers until October of 2021. 10 interceptions since the start of 21, third most in the NFL. And remember, we just talked about this. The Bills haven't intercepted a pass in the last 4 games. And so a welcome addition, a need. So what does he bring? What's the skill set here? He brings the exact skill set that Sean McDermott loves for his defense. Outstanding length. We talked about that. Over 32-inch arms. A very physical player. A guy that will play in the face of receivers. He'll tackle. He'll play off contact. He's got a trigger against the run. You're going to love that about him. And he's got really good ball skills. Like really good. He knows how to play the ball in the air. Obviously, his length really, really helps. But he's got above average ball skills, as evidenced by the interception total since the start of 2021. And he also has a lot of experience playing zone defense. That is what he does. He plays zone defense. And that was always the book on Rasul Douglas. I remember evaluating him coming out of West Virginia. And I think anybody that watched him at West Virginia really liked the player. But you thought to yourself, you just can't ask this guy to play a ton of off-man coverage. That's just not really going to work for him. But if you ask him to play zone, he can be a really helpful player for a defense. And this is a good situation for Rasul Douglas to come to Buffalo and be asked to play the style of defense where he really excels. And Douglas, we mentioned it. He has a lot of stops along the way. He's seen a lot of different playbooks and techniques and all that type of stuff, right? He's not a guy coming in with rawness to him. He's a polished product, right? He's 28 years old, has been around, played on a lot of different teams. But I think it's pretty clear what he does best. And the good news is that's what the Bills are going to ask him to do. He isn't super quick twitched with loose hips and fast feet, but in zone, he's a really strong player. And like I said, that's exactly what the Bills are asking him to do. I think one of the most telling things about this trade and the player that the Bills are getting back is how Packers people have responded. As soon as the trade went through, I got a text from Peter Bukowski, the host of Locked On Panthers, saying, Joe, you're going to love Rasul. Physical, ball skills. He talked about Aaron Rodgers and how Aaron Rodgers had really good things to say about Rasul Douglas. And Peter even said in the text to me, he said, look, Aaron Rodgers didn't say good things about really anybody. You see the way that Aaron Nagler is responding on Twitter. All the Packers people are like, man, not Rasul Douglas. Like, they love him. There's a leadership component that he brings to the table. And it sounds like wherever he goes, just people really gravitate towards him. So it feels like a process guy, like a good fit, and a guy that, as we consider him coming into this football team, I feel like he's got a chance to contribute right away. Obviously, the Bills didn't make this move for him to not play and probably start pretty soon. But I think his experience kind of bouncing around positions him well to be able to pick things up quickly and matter for this Bills defense. I know that we've seen the Bills, trade for Nyheim Hines last year, and we all kind of wondered, well, is he going to have a role? Is he going to do something on offense? Well, he wound up being a pretty impactful special teams player, but it was slow for him to onboard, right? That shouldn't be the case with Rasul Douglas. I have high expectations for him to be able to come in and be the guy opposite of Christian Benford. And so that's my expectations. I don't know if that happens against Cincinnati this week, but it really shouldn't take too long for him to be able to come in and pick up the core principles of this defense and provide an answer for the Buffalo Bills at a position where they needed some help. And so we're going to talk more about the need. We're going to talk about this contract and what the Bills are onboarding. And of course, some conversation on Leonard Fournette. That's all coming your way. Stick with me. But our partners over at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Football host Vinny Iyer to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week all season long. So whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Vinny has picked out for us on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Well, how about this one? Bills rookie tight end Dalton Kincaid has stepped into a big role with Dawson Knox getting hurt. He's gotten hot with Josh Allen in the past 2 weeks, scoring for the first time in his career in Week 8 against the Buccaneers. Kincaid gets a smash spot in a shootout against the Bengals on Sunday night. Cincinnati has been better in coverage outside and versus wideouts than they have been against the tight ends. Kincaid will once again come through for managers looking for a midseason pick-me-up at the tight end position. Vinny Iyer from Locked On Fantasy Football is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows that a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. So let's continue this conversation about new Bills cornerback, Rasul Douglas. And I want to talk about the need that the Bills had for a cornerback. I think the need was significant. We've talked recently over the last couple of days about two major concerns that the Bills have, and Rasul Douglas helps with both. First of all, this defense has been reeling. A big part of what I hope you took away from our conversation yesterday, the second quarter report card, is that the defense, for as much as we talked about the offense and the slow starts in games and not being able to find rhythm, the defense has really just not performed well at all. And I think there's no better evidence than giving up 29 points to the New England Patriots and all the offensive success that the Patriots had against the Bills defense. And I know that they bounced back a bit against the Buccaneers, and I know that they had their moments against the Giants. But I just don't know what to expect from the Bills defense in any given week. I really have no idea what to expect. Big losses in Matt Milano, Trey White, and Daquan Jones, not to mention the intermittent missing pieces that you have, right? And Oliver, Shaq Lawson, Greg Rousseau, Jordan Poyer, these guys, Dane Jackson, they've all missed, Christian Benford, they've all missed a game. And you can be concerned about the offense. Sure, that's fine. But I think the answer with the offense has always been just play better. You got what you need. Play better. Now, would you have loved to have gotten another piece for the offense? Of course. But they just needed to get more out of what they have. The defense is where you needed reinforcements. Trey White not coming back. Matt Milano not coming back. Daquan Jones maybe at the end of the season. And you got a tough stretch coming up. A tough stretch. Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, Chargers, Cowboys, Dolphins. Not to mention Patriots again, who you need to prove that you can beat them. The Jets, who you've already lost to. And the Broncos, who just beat the Chiefs. So the schedule's getting tougher. And your defense isn't playing better. And so, I had no idea what to expect from this defense on a weekly basis. Rasul Douglas helps at least stabilize the cornerback position. And the other item is the cornerback position, where I've really started to wonder and speculate, what do the Bills actually have short-term and long-term? What do they actually have? Well, Trey White. What can we expect from Trey White? 2 of the last 3 seasons, significant season-ending injuries. We know what it took for him to come back from the ACL. Now he's coming back from an Achilles. Pushing 30 years old. What type of athletic profile exists? What can you reasonably rely on and count on from Trey White moving forward? I mean, I love Trey White, like one of my favorite Buffalo Bills until he got hurt, right? I mean, not that I stopped loving him, but the way that he played, the impact that he made, loved it. Been zapped right out from underneath our feet. Dane Jackson, okay, Dane Jackson's a reasonable depth player, special teams, physical, like you spot starter, you feel okay with it. But he's a free agent and certainly an upgradable player. You got Kaiir Elam, and who knows? I think that's one of the most fascinating pieces of things right now. Is Kaiir Elam still around? After we kind of looked at the last week and thought about the Bills creating some cap space with the Deion Dawkins restructure, and then he's inactive Thursday Night Football, and Josh Norman is active, and it's the game before the trade deadline. You kind of wondered if the Bills would trade him. They didn't. He's still around. But what's his ceiling? Do the Bills believe in Kaiir Elam? Is there a path for him to be a meaningful player for this football team? I mean, his first-round pick, 17 months ago, a first-round pick. Now, obviously, they didn't move him, so he's still around, but, I mean, the guy was just inactive for Josh Norman. What can you honestly expect? What can you honestly think of that you have when it relates to Kaiir Elam and his status in this football team? And then you have Christian Benford. I'm excited about Christian Benford. I like him. I think he's a sufficient starter, at least at this point. Ball skills, physicality, nothing seems to be too big for him. Trusts his technique, does the right things. So Christian Benford and what? Again, short and long term. Both question marks. Well, now you have Rasul Douglas. Very, very helpful addition. Proven starter, length, ball skills, physicality, zone coverage ability. And so now you feel like, okay, what do the Bills have moving forward? Well, you at least have Christian Benford. You at least have Rasul Douglas. And whatever there is to develop out of Kaiir Elam plus Trey White and his return and whatever that's going to look like. But you have a nice hedge here. You have a nice hedge against the development of Kaiir Elam. You have a nice hedge against Trey White's return. And you've absorbed a contract here that's very, very team-friendly to acquire. Let's look at it. So there's 2 years left on Rasul Douglas's contract, this year and next. This year, this is a good deal. Douglas is only owed a tick under $900,000, right? So not a huge deal to absorb this year when you only had about $5 million in cap space to begin with. So that looks pretty good. And you still got a couple bucks, right? If you want to go out and sign a free agent, maybe Ndamukong Suh, something like that, to kind of come over and help, you can do it. You got a few bucks to do it. So that's a nice piece of this. You add Rasul Douglas for a minimal cap hit, and you still got a couple bucks here to flirt around with if you want to make a run at some outstanding veteran free agent. Now, obviously, the trade opportunities have come and gone, but you got a couple bucks to sign a player. Next year, he's under contract, and it's a $9 million cap hit. But here's the good part. None of that is guaranteed. None of it. So the Bills have a lot of flexibility. Maybe he's a complete flop and you don't like the player that you brought in. You can cut him. There's no dead cap. He's gone. You also have the opportunity to extend him, right? You say, hey, we want to keep you around. Let's extend you. We'll take that first year cap hit down, spread it around. We'll do good things there. You have flexibility. I would expect something to happen. I wouldn't anticipate a world where Rasul Douglas just plays for the Bills next year in 2024 and he gets paid $9 million. Something is going to happen there, and that's good. The Bills need as much cap flexibility as they can get, and this contract that they absorbed helps with that. And so Rasul Douglas, a Buffalo Bill, giving up a 3rd-round pick, also getting a 5th-round pick back, owed less than $900,000 this year, $9 million next year. None of it's guaranteed. You address a major need. You get a guy that can help you take away the football, that can help your defense at a position, a premium position, where there was massive short and long-term questions. Good deal, Brandon Beane. I am quite satisfied with all of this. All right, the other big thing that the Bills did was they signed running back Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. Stick with me. But maybe you want to get to a game. Maybe you want to go see Rasul Douglas play for the Buffalo Bills. Well, go to Gametime. Gametime is the perfect way to purchase tickets. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets. They've got all-in prices. They've got views from your seat, so you know exactly what you're getting into when you get to the venue, and a best price guarantee. Simply put, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I love the app. It's super easy to navigate. They have flash deals on last-minute tickets. They have images, like I said, of the seat views. Great prices. Everything's super easy to navigate. And I also love this. They send the tickets right to your phone. So there's no digging through emails. They're right to your phone. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, folks, we got to talk about Leonard Fournette becoming a Buffalo Bill. But before we do, I would love to invite you to join the Locked On Bills subtext community. We started this before the draft, and it has been so fun. You get my first reaction to all major Bills news. So when the trade went through over Rasul Douglas, everybody that subscribed got a couple paragraphs of analysis from me on the deal. You get my in-game analysis for, when the Bills are playing a game. I send texts all throughout the game, just letting you know what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing. And we also have a Discord community that goes with the subtext. So if you join the subtext, you also get access to the Discord community. And it's super, super fun. I give you film clips. So I study the all 22 from the games, and I put film clips in there with commentary people are enjoying. We're talking Bills. We're talking Sabres. We're talking life. We're talking fitness and nutrition. We got a burpee challenge for November that we're doing through the Discord channel. So a lot of cool stuff. Check it out if you want to join. There's a link in today's show notes. So go to the show notes if you're on YouTube or wherever you listen to this podcast. There's a link to join the Locked On Bills subtext community. Would love for you to be there. I'm only a text message away. A great community on Discord. We are having fun. Come be part of it. All right, so the Bills signed Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. Hold on. There's something I need to say. The Bills had an available roster spot, right? So they had 52 on the roster. So there's no corresponding move here. The Bills don't have to make a move to make space for Rasul Douglas. That's already taken care of. On to Leonard Fournette. And they also had a spot on their practice squad. So Leonard Fournette joins the Buffalo Bills practice squad. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with Leonard Fournette. Top 5 pick several years ago for the Jaguars. Spent the last few years in Tampa Bay. Won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. And he's an interesting player, right? Like a big bruising running back that has some pass catching ability, some pass pro ability, but I think mostly disappointing kind of based on the hype that he had coming out of LSU. And he just some of the thoughts, like people used to talk about Leonard Fournette in college as a guy that should have went straight to the NFL and didn't even need college, right? That's how people thought of him. So there's always so much hype with Leonard Fournette. And I think he's fell short of a lot of those expectations, but has been a serviceable running back. And look, he's coming to the Bills practice squad. We're talking about the 4th running back on the team when Damien Harris is back, potentially the 5th running back on the team. So while I'm not his biggest fan, we don't need to overreact to a practice squad signing. And honestly, and I said it, I'm not Leonard Fournette's biggest fan, but as your 4th or 5th running back, that's actually incredible depth. That's incredible depth. And so you needed another running back. You didn't have any on your practice squad. You have, of course, James Cook, Latavius Murray, and Ty Johnson, not Ty Montgomery. I didn't make the mistake that time. On your active roster, and nobody on your practice squad. Damien Harris is on injured reserve with that neck injury and the concussion. Not really sure what his status is, but he's on injured reserve. And so what you have here is a nice depth addition at this point, a nice hedge against whatever happens with Damien Harris in his return and what it looks like when he comes back. And just a nice little reinforcement for the running back position. Now, at this point in his career, he's not the same just big bruising running back that we remember him being coming out of LSU and what he's proven to be at times in the NFL. But what he can give you is pass catching, and he can give you some pass protection. Again, low expectations here, but a big name addition that we need to talk about. Again, no need to overreact to this player. The Bills aren't signing him to replace James Cook or take away carries from James Cook or anything like that. This is your 4th or 5th running back. That's a veteran. That's nice to have stashed in case you need him down the stretch, right? Running backs, they have a tendency to get injured. It's nice to know that you have some guys deep on your depth chart that can help you in case the injury bug hits the running back position. And so, there's been a lot of weird reaction, in my opinion, to Leonard Fournette, and it's just not necessary. It's a practice squad addition. He's not taking away anybody's job. He's not taking away any workload from anybody. But what he does provide is very good depth as a 4th or 5th running back, should you get down that far. And a guy with, he's some big-time playoff experience, right? A couple of big runs with the Buccaneers, a Super Bowl run with the Buccaneers. He caught passes from Tom Brady. That feels like that's a pretty good thing, right? So, again, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's got big vision issues. He's very inconsistent. He does have some drop problems that have creeped up throughout his career. Like, there's a variance to him that has always annoyed me. But again, as a 4th or 5th running back, there's just nothing to really complain about. In fact, like I said, as a 4th or 5th running back, that's really, really good depth. So there you have it. The Bills trade for Rasul Douglas. They add Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. And next up for us is to start really thinking about the Cincinnati Bengals. So we've had a good start to the week with herd mentality, and then our second quarter report card, of course, now the trade deadline reaction. And now it's time to focus in on the Cincinnati Bengals, the Bills' next opponent. Big Sunday night game in Cincinnati. Tomorrow will be our crossover preview with Locked On Bengals. And then, of course, my primer, my full breakdown of the matchup. And then our last discussion will be any final thoughts. We'll talk to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills, and I'll give you my 5 predictions for the game. So don't miss anything. Make sure that you're subscribed. Join the Locked On Bills subtext community. Really appreciate your being here. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.